The Ring of Gyges. Carson was a shepherd, and his days were long and hard. He spent most of his days in solitude, complete solitude. And the weather was terrible. The grass was completely parched, and sheep 13 was being troublesome. And in the cave, after he had shaken the bronze statue to bits, he found a dead body of someone perhaps from an ancient race, perhaps from an extraterrestrial planet. He pulled and pulled at the ring, but it wouldn't come off, so he took his pocket knife and chopped off the dead person's finger. Well, it was no good to a dead man, he thought, and no one can see me. He prized apart the flesh and finally put the ring on. He looked down at his feet. They weren't there. He looked down at his arms. They weren't there. Is this some sort of punishment? He thought. Will I meet a bride in hell, he thought. And where has wretched sheep number 13 gone? And when he finally found sheep number 13, he slaughtered it and took it with him to the king's palace. The Ring of Gyges, Part 2. And Carson set off to the king's castle once he realised that when he took the ring off, he would become visible again. And he went with the slaughtered sheep number 13 to offer his services as a spy in return for a reward and to give the king reward in plenty. But he chose to put the ring on and sneak into the palace, just to assess the situation first. He sat down in a really grand room. It was beautiful. And then someone came. No. But what was this? Someone had come into the room and apparently seen him in a mirror. A mirror! Could he be seen in a mirror even with the ring on? He looked. He got up and looked where the passing woman had seen him and screamed. And there he saw a terrible, terrible figure of a man or a skeleton. He realised he'd caught sight of himself in a mirror. Even in a mirror, with the ring on, he was in fact visible. And he looked terrible. So because it seemed as though he looked so terrible, Carson resolved to remain invisible after all. He found it difficult, partly because he'd become enamoured of the Queen. She was very beautiful. She spent most of the time with Lavinia, her sister, but the thing is, her sister was the one who'd seen him in the mirror, and he decided to haunt her, to chase her away from the side of his beautiful, enamouring, exciting woman. And one night, when Lavinia was safely put away and incarcerated for having believed that there was such a thing as ghosts, and having her nerves become so frayed that she simply couldn't cope anymore, he snuck into the bedroom of his darling Lumina and caressed her. Remaining invisible, he caressed her. She was startled. What was this? But he was so gentle, she came to enjoy it.